This video is brought to you by Sporlan, quality, integrity, and tradition. So we got a walk-in freezer that's not working today. Let's go in here and have a look up here and see what's going on. So they say it's about 15 degrees in here. It's pretty warm. Let's come on back here and it's all frozen up. Okay. So we're going to start on the roof at the defrost clock, put it in defrost, check the heaters while it's still frozen up, and then proceed from there. All right, the defrost is controlled via the defrost timer inside the rack, okay? I've shown this many times, but this is like a makeshift rack that's been around forever. It's got a swamp cooler that's leaking water all over the floor attached to it. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this guy into defrost, okay? So if we come over to the defrost clock, if I can get this open. All right, so what we need to do is look to see if the time is correct. It's pretty close, it's about 8. We're gonna go ahead and increase the defrost, and we're just gonna click it into defrost. And what that does is that should be shutting the system down via pump down is what it should be doing. So the system should be pumping down, and then in a minute it should shut off, and then the electric heater should be energized. You can see that it's iced up nice and thick all the way through the coils. We'll get that expansion valve section opened up there too. One thing I want to point out is whenever I'm doing this, I always have a pan here for all the screws and the nuts and everything. And I try to be prepared, you know, like I know the tools that I'm going to need. I don't typically bring my entire bag in here unless I need to. But, you know, 1/2-inch wrench, Allen wrench, dikes just in case, screwdriver, and a drill or an impact with a 5/16 on it is all that I need for this coil. So now what we're going to do is we're going to verify that voltage is correct, and then we're going to check that each individual defrost heater is working. Now you can tell a lot by ice. Judging from this right here, it wasn't going into defrost for some reason, or they've been leaving the door open consistently to the point that the ice is just building up super thick. More than likely it's a door issue. That these guys constantly at these restaurants leave stuff open. So let's get in here and check voltage for the heaters first. All right, so going to H1 and H2, we have 206 volts going to the heater circuit, and it's continually running. So now we're just gonna go in here and clamp on every guy and make sure that we have current. So they're not all going to be the same because there's defrost heaters, drain pan heaters, all that good stuff. So I'll get in there and start checking them all. But for one, we have 1 amp so far. Next one has 2 amps. It's pretty typical. We're going to see a few that are 1 amps. We're going to see at least 2 of them that are 2 amps usually, because the drain pan heaters usually pull a lot less current than the actual coil heaters. So 2 amps on the next one, and that just leaves 1 more wire to go, and that is this one right here. So we'll clamp onto that one real quick, and that one's running 1 amps. So it seems to me that everything's good. Don't really see any issues there. I feel like I'm missing 1 heater. Let me double check. Yeah, we're good. I got the last one. So 2 of them are running 2 amps, 2 of them are running about 1 amps. And again, like I said, that's pretty typical. So at this point, I've got my hose and everything already in here. We're gonna go up top, we're gonna turn off power, and then we're gonna use a water hose to defrost this to speed up the process. So the ice is so thick that I can't get the fan motors out. So we're gonna have to melt around the fan guards in the back of the motors. And that's where this wand really comes in handy, because you can reduce the amount of water flowing out. And then when you get to the motor, you can put it on the mist setting. So we're just gonna slowly get it defrosted around the motor until we can get it out. we got this guy all defrosted, all in the side there, all the way through. You can see most of the ice fell off the back, what wasn't melted. And then we got it all back in here. There's no ice left. And then all back here. We're good. It's all clear of any ice. Now we need to put it back together and continue with our troubleshooting. So, testing the limit switch, okay? We have a defrost termination fan delay switch. The fact that it went into defrost is a good sign. When limit switches fail, sometimes they'll lock it out of defrost and won't let it go in because of a bad electrical connection or something. So what we need to see is we need to put it back together. We need to turn it on. We need to make sure that there is a fan delay because this limit switch is a 3-wire defrost termination fan delay. And all it does is break the common. But we need to make sure that there's a fan delay, then that turns back on. And there's not really much more as long as the defrost clock is keeping time. Now it was about an hour off. I'm not too concerned about an hour. Yeah, so we're gonna put it together and then finish it. Pretty important piece of advice. Do not zip tie the wires directly to this round metal bracket. Notice that I have a double zip tie there, so that way the wire doesn't come in contact with the bracket. You always want to do that because that's a rub out point. When you zip tie it, it will rub through those wires, and it's really common for you to have a rub out on those. All right, the defrost termination is right here. This is the X terminal right here, okay? If you go down there, you can see X. That sends a signal to the defrost clock and says, terminate defrost if the coil's too hot. Now, if it's working properly, when I turn it on, this unit will not go into defrost. Even though the pins are out, it'll go into refrigeration mode. So let's go ahead and turn this breaker on. And it's already in refrigeration mode because the compressor started. So, see, it won't go into defrost, even though the pins are pointing to defrost, because the defrost termination switch is working. So this is what you want to see coming out of defrost. You want to see those fan motors not running, and you want to hear the refrigerant flowing through. What they're doing there is they're making sure that the coil is cold enough. They're trying to prevent any condensation from blowing off, from it blowing steam all over the ceiling and causing it to freeze, that kind of stuff. So they pre-chill the coil, usually around 30-ish degrees, and then it'll turn the fans on. So we'll wait and see. Okay, that is not a good sign. See how the fan motors are barely turning on? That is a sign that the defrost termination switch is faulty. That's not good. That's leading me to believe that the defrost termination switch is messed up. Let's give it a second. Maybe the coil is just still not cold enough. We'll give it a sec. All right, I'm back. I went and got a new limit switch because I'm just not confident in the one that was in there. So, the unit's been running for a good hour or so. It's pretty cold inside the box. Let's come over and look at our sight glass. The sight glass is clear. That's a really good sign. I don't see a need to put service gauges on this guy because of the way that it was iced up. There's no indications that there's a refrigeration problem. It was iced up top to bottom, solid all the way through. That's a door being left open. Defrost heater's not working. It's one of those two things. In this situation, I think what was happening was, I think they left the door open, but then I think we had a failed limit switch. Now, the limit switch didn't indicate in defrost that there was a problem. It went into defrost, no problem. But when we were waiting for the fan delay, which it's a combo limit switch, fan delay, defrost termination, it was like it wasn't making a good connection because you guys saw how those fans were like barely spinning. and then a few minutes later it came on full blast. I don't like that. That was odd to me. Something was going on with there. I'm trusting my gut, and I'm gonna change the limit switch. So we're gonna go back downstairs, pull that coil apart, and swap that limit switch out real quick. All right, so down here, you can always tell when this box is working good because they have old school fluorescent bulbs, and as it gets colder, the fluorescent process or whatever changes, and it I don't know, it just gets more dim. Just an experience or a observation I've noticed. So I pulled these two screws right here. Gives you really easy access to the limit switches. You don't have to fight it. Remember, if you're fighting things, oftentimes you're doing something wrong. Now, there's that every once in a blue moon where a manufacturer's just an idiot, but these coils are really easy. No big deal at all. Just move this out of the way. The top 3-wire one is my limit switch, so we're gonna swap that out. All right, this thing is running, all is well. We're gonna tell them to keep an eye on it. Again, I work on a lot of walk-in freezers, and we take shortcuts, okay? As an experienced technician, there's gonna be times that I'm gonna take shortcuts. I have a fairly good understanding of the system, so I have confidence in myself if I do take shortcuts, okay? So you don't necessarily see me get in there and measure every single voltage, every single step all the way through, right? Because sometimes I'll make assumptions. Hey, I've got voltage here. I'll, click it into defrost. Does it stay in defrost? Yes. Okay, then let's just go down and check the heaters. But you also have to understand that if you do take shortcuts, be prepared, because if it bites you in the butt, it's on you, right? Educated shortcuts, I guess, is what you're going to say, kind of like an educated guess when you can't figure out something. So you do a systematic approach to like, okay, well, I know it's not this, kind of deductive reasoning. There's a lot of different descriptions for troubleshooting, okay? There's a lot of different methods we're going to take. But in this situation, I took a few shortcuts. I didn't put my service gauges on the system because I didn't see the need. The way that it was frozen up indicated to me that it wasn't a refrigeration problem. The box was simply just getting too cold and or too much humid air coming into the box. More than likely that was the case. This particular customer is notorious for leaving the doors open. I've defrosted this walk-in freezer several times, so it is what it is. Now, defrost termination switches. There was a couple different times inside the video that I mentioned the limit switches. There's actually more than one limit switch in this particular box, okay? There's also a heater safety switch. It did not look bad. I did not see a need to change it, but oftentimes I will change the heater safety and the defrost termination switch in conjunction if I decide it needs to be done. Now, this particular situation, I didn't see any issues with the heater safety. I don't think that was our problem. The simple fact that when I turned the coil back on, the fan motors slowly started to spin, and then eventually they came on, that leads me to believe that the limit switch isn't making a good connection, and or there's possible moisture that is frozen inside the limit switch and is causing a weird situation. Now, it was only doing it for the evaporator fan motors, but I have a feeling it's all that limit switch does is it's a switch, and it breaks the common and decides whether or not it's going to send it to the evaporator fan motors or the defrost heaters, and it does that based on temperature. So my gut told me that there's something going on within that limit switch, judging by the way that it was slowly making a connection, and I decided to go ahead and change the 3-wire defrost termination fan delay limit switch, okay? So I think, though, like I mentioned in the video, that the problem started with the customer leaving the door open, and then the limit switch failed, and it led to a catastrophic freeze-up, that made the system completely go down. So hopefully you got something from this. I know that my brain works in mysterious ways and rambles in different directions and stuff. So understand, this channel, I try to give knowledge, but it really is just a window into how my brain works. So if you can get something from that, whether it be good or bad, and learn something from it, I guess I feel happy, right? I don't know. I really do appreciate y'all making it to the end of the video. It's amazing, all the support, so thank you so very much. If you haven't already, check out my website, hvacrvideos.com. Consider subscribing to the YouTube channel. Definitely helps out the channel. Leave me some feedback down in the comments. Shoot me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com. There's a couple ways you can support the channel if you're interested in doing so. The easiest way is simply just watch the videos. That's super simple, right? You can also support the channel via Patreon. YouTube channel memberships, which are basically monthly commitments to donate however much money you see fit to the channel. You can also donate via PayPal. There's links in the show notes of the video if you're interested in doing any of that. Also, if you're interested in purchasing any tools, go to TruTechTools.com. I have an affiliate program set up with them. So if you find something you like on their website and you like their pricing, I can get you a further discount. Use my offer code BIGPICTURE. That's one word. It'll get you an 8% discount on most of the items. There's a few things it doesn't work on, but on most of the items on their website, it'll get you an 8% discount. When you do that, I get a small little commission from that. So it's another great way to help support the channel. So thank you so very much. Be kind to one another, and we will catch you on the next one, okay?